Hello, I'm Matthew Lemieux, Senior Research Analyst with Lipper, and today I'm joined by Michael Cook, who is the Founder and Chief Investment Officer for SouthernSun Asset Management. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Matthew.
And today we're really focusing on 2013 Lipper Fund Award winners, and within that, the SouthernSun Small Cap Fund was the recipient of the 3-year award for Lipper's Small Cap Core classification. So congratulations on that accomplishment.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
And let's talk about your investment philosophy. Or is it more of a top-down process or a bottom-up?
We're definitely a bottom-up firm. We focus on fundamentals. A lot of our work is done in plant and facility with feet on the ground around the world, even though we are U.S.-based companies only. They generally have facilities all around the world, so our approach is bottom-up.
Great. So let's talk a little bit more maybe about your team's idea management process. When you're looking for names out there, are you using kind of a traditional screening process or traditional screens?
We certainly know how to do traditional screens, but that's not where we find that we've had any benefit over time in doing those sorts of things. Most of our ideas come from spending time with the management teams of our current businesses, understanding their customers, their vendors. We'll find ideas through their competitors. So we also attend trade shows, which will give us ideas of who else is in the marketplace where the ideas that we find are being generated.
All right, so you're kind of using a broad way to find opportunities, which is great. So let's talk a little bit more about kind of how you position your portfolio and really what kind of sectors you're focusing on.
Well, as a result of our approach really being so research intensive, as one might imagine, a great deal of our businesses tend to be more tangible oriented. That would clearly put us in the consumer staples, into the industrials, materials type businesses, but we also look for good business propositions in the service industry as well. We're looking for people that can dominate a niche over time and can defend margins in tough times.
Great. And so when we talk about kind of the makeup of your portfolio, can you kind of talk about the benefits of, managing a stock fund where you may only have about 20 to 40 names in it at one time?
Well, the advantage is we tend to know the businesses really well. We want to understand the risks and opportunities in all of our businesses. So as a result, we could spend anywhere from 2 months to 5 years looking at a business. As a result, you would realize that we tend to have a small number of businesses in the portfolio, but we tend to know them very well. And we'll own a business for anywhere from 3 to 5 years, generally speaking. That's what we want to be able to do going in. But for instance, last autumn, we sold a business that we had in the portfolio for 14 years. Right,
so I mean, you're really going to be stringent on how you want to pick that company because you're really going for it for the long term, so that's great.
That is absolutely correct.
Right. So then you talked about kind of really being hands-on in your research. You said, you're kind of on the road, you're out in front of the board of managers, you're at the factories, the facilities, and the trade shows. What are really the advantages of kind of being so hands-on with that research approach?
Well, we think that clearly one of the advantages is, as I mentioned earlier, it generates new ideas. Yep. But I think the context that we derive from actually being in the facilities, not necessarily just speaking with the executive management of a business, but also speaking with plant workers. We've always had a saying around the firm that you can learn more from a break room than you can a boardroom. Yeah. And in some sense, we think that we can learn more about a business where they're out operating directly with the public or their client base.
So it's finding value that may not be out there unless you're really kind of talking to the right people.
Exactly. Correct. So as a result, we tend to find things that may have a few challenges in front of them as opposed to those that everyone recognizes. Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it, so maybe talk a little bit more, being more focused within the U.S. and kind of how that works in your portfolio.
It's interesting. Our portfolio, about 40% of our companies actually, although they're headquartered in the U.S., operate outside the U.S. We have, for instance, a business that's been in the portfolio for a number of years, AGCO Corporation, that 75% of their sales are derived in Europe and Latin America. That's not unusual, but we think that that's part of the proposition that we bring to the table, and that is that we have businesses that some people are really unwilling to go and understand where they are operating. And so while, as I said, all the businesses are headquartered in the United States, we think it's interesting that small businesses in the last decade have really begun to be able to compete on a global basis. And I think certainly technology has been one of the reasons that that's been the case.
Right, and so you got to really put in the work to kind of get an understanding of that business.
Absolutely.
So really, last question we'll talk about. So you're based in Memphis, Tennessee. You know, being in kind of that small market, are there some challenges there, or do you see any disadvantages with being located there?
You know, I think probably more advantages than disadvantages, other than it's really hot in the summertime. I think that, first of all, because we do so much travel, it's very centrally located in the United States. So we can get to fairly obscure places, as well as we think that it offers us the advantage of not necessarily being in the noise of the big cities, although we enjoy to visit those.
Right. Well, you know, once again, Michael, I really do want to thank you for coming out and congratulate you on your accomplishments this year for the Lipper Fund Awards.
Thank you, Matthew.
So on behalf of SouthernSun and Lipper, I'm Matthew Lemieux, and thanks for watching.